What's up, everybody? Today we got to talk about Apple's newest overpriced movie, Argyle. I will be diving into full spoilers for the movie, including the big reveal of who the real Agent Argyle is, so make sure you've seen the movie before you continue on with this review. Unless you don't care about spoilers, then you're all good. And with that out of the way, let's get into the movie. I'm going to get my cons out of the way first, as always, and if you've seen some of the reviews for this movie, you might think this is going to be a big section, but you want to know one difference between me and these professional critics who went to film school. I like having fun. However, I did still have a couple problems with the movie, and the first one is the VFX, and they were definitely shaky at best. The cat Alfie was the one thing that really stood out in this arena, and I don't want to say it fully took me out of the movie because I don't think it was that bad, but it was definitely noticeable throughout the whole movie, especially in certain action scenes. You could kind of see some poor CGI. Then, my only other complaint is that the major twist of the movie, who the real Agent Argyle is, was incredibly predictable by about 30 to 45 minutes into the movie, and then it's not revealed for like another hour. Now, the real Argyle is Bryce Dallas Howard's character, who we're led to believe is an author named Ellie Conway, but in reality, her name is Rachel Kyle, and she was an agent for the Division, which is like this movie's spy agency. This movie's IMF or whatever you want to call it. But don't you get it there with the whole Argyle thing? She's Agent R. Kyle. Uh, it's kind of cheesy, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't get a chuckle out of me during the official reveal. And honestly, it was more than a chuckle, I can't lie. I thought this was hilarious. So, carrying forward with that positivity, the end of the con section, let's get into what worked for me in this movie, my pros. The first thing is the soundtrack. Not the score, the soundtrack. I thought it was incredible, and it really boosted the fight scenes that were already good. And I might as well move on to those action sequences now. There's something I absolutely love about pretty much all of Matthew Vaughn's action movies. You have the three Kingsman movies in that franchise, which got a nice nod at the end of this movie. Kick-Ass, which I rewatched last night, and I love that movie so much. X-Men First Class, which is far and away the best of the second wave of those Fox X-Men movies, and even his first movie he directed, Layer Cake, with Daniel Craig, has some really cool action sequences. The point is here, this guy has great action in his movies, and this one continues that with some really creative scenes, especially towards the end. And something that kind of counters one of my cons is that I thought the more minor twists in the movie, so not the big reveal, but some of the smaller ones, were actually pretty good. Things like Bryan Cranston and Catherine O'Hara characters not being Ellie's real parents, and I mean Bryan Cranston showing up as her dad in London was good enough, but then they're not her real parents; they're agents. Because Ellie doesn't exist, obviously. And like I said, I liked Bryce Dallas Howard's real name being Rachel Kyle to play on Agent Argyle. I thought it was funny. Uh, and the whole thing with Kira dying at the beginning, but being the fan who sent in the tip on how to shoot someone through the chest in this like 2 inch gap by your heart, but then have them survive, and she went through it, and that's how she sent it in. It was pretty cool. And finally, I can't review a movie like this without praising the phenomenal cast that was put together. I mean, you've got Henry Cavill, who's actually good in this, Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, Bryan Cranston, Dua Lipa, who I didn't know was an actress, Ariana DeBose, John Cena, Richard Grant has a small part, Samuel L. Jackson, and I'm sure I'm leaving some people out, but I hope you get the point because that cast was stacked. I'd probably say my top three performances, and this is tough with a cast like this, but I'd probably say Bryan Cranston, who is both hilarious and convincing as a villain. Bryce Dallas Howard as Ellie and Rachel was good, and I think my third would probably be Samuel L. Jackson as a human Alfie. He was hilarious, especially towards the end when he's celebrating getting the the mega file, whatever it's called, and exposing them. I thought he was hilarious. Also, honorable mention to Sam Rockwell. He was phenomenal, but I'm probably a little more biased towards the other three I picked because I just like them more than Sam, unfortunately. So he'd be fourth if I did more than three. Then, just real quick before I wrap it up here, let's touch on that mid credit scene, which you could probably skip, but it features that Kingsman reference I talked about earlier, and we see a young Agent Argyle walk into a bar that's called the Kingsman. And it kind of makes you think if this is set in Matthew Vaughn's Kingsman universe, that would actually be pretty cool. But anyway, we see that young Agent Argyle, the fictional one, but it's not Henry Cavill. It's Louis Partridge, who ironically enough was in Enola Holmes with him. I forget who Lewis was in that movie, but Henry plays Sherlock, one of my favorite Henry Cavill roles, by the way. Getting off track again, sorry. Lewis is going to play a younger version of Agent Argyle in a prequel, according to this scene, but we'll see if that ever gets made. It's going to depend on how much money this makes, if I had to guess. And so that'll do it for my review of Matthew Vaughn's newest movie, Argyle. Overall, it was a really fun movie with some great action sequences, so it's going to land at a 7.5 out of 10 for me personally. But let me know what you thought of Argyle down in the comments below and make sure you have a great day.